There are countless stories that challenge our understanding of life, science, and the human body. These are tales where medicine stands on the precipice of the unknown, baffled by what can only be described as miracles. Even in an age where science can map the human genome, grow organs in labs, and send machines to Mars, there are still cases where patients defy all odds, leaving doctors scratching their heads in disbelief. Imagine walking into a hospital room where someone who was declared clinically dead suddenly sits up and starts talking, or picture someone, blind for decades, regaining their sight after a simple bump to the head. These aren't the plots of science fiction movies. These are real medical cases. Each of these 10 stories represents a unique confrontation between the laws of biology and the mysteries of the human spirit, proving that even in the world of medicine, not everything can be explained. Now, let's dive into these 10 medical mysteries and miraculous healings that have left experts speechless. One, Pam Reynolds, clinical death and the mysterious return. Pam Reynolds underwent a high-risk brain surgery where doctors had to do the unthinkable: lower her body temperature to 15 degrees Celsius, stop her heart, and essentially shut down her brain. Clinically, she was dead. Yet Pam later recounted vivid details of the surgery, describing the tools used and the conversations that took place. How could someone see and hear during a time when their brain was completely inactive? Science is still trying to explain this one. 2. Joe Tippens' miraculous cancer recovery. Joe Tippens was given just months to live after being diagnosed with terminal cancer. With no other options, Joe turned to an unconventional treatment, a veterinary antiparasitic drug. Miraculously, within months, his cancer vanished. Medical experts were left dumbfounded, and Joe's case has led to discussions on whether this drug could be a game changer for human cancer treatment. 3. Lazarus Syndrome, coming back from the dead. The Lazarus Syndrome is named after the biblical figure who was brought back to life, and it's one of medicine's most baffling phenomena. In several documented cases, patients declared dead after failed resuscitation efforts suddenly came back to life. Family members grieving over a loved one, only to witness them spring back into consciousness, are left in shock, and so are the doctors. How can someone spontaneously resurrect themselves? No one quite knows. 4. Gina Geesi surviving rabies. Rabies is almost always fatal once symptoms appear. Gina Geesi was bitten by a rabid bat, and by the time she reached the hospital, it was too late for the vaccine. Doctors put her in an induced coma to buy time for her body to fight the virus, a method never before tried. Against all odds, Gina survived, making her the first person to recover from untreated rabies, challenging everything we thought we knew about this deadly disease. 5. Phineas Gage, the man who survived an iron rod through his skull. In 1848, railroad worker Phineas Gage experienced a horrific accident when an iron rod shot through his skull, damaging a significant portion of his brain. Not only did Phineas survive, but he remained conscious immediately after the incident. His personality, however, changed drastically, offering early clues about how specific brain regions govern behavior. Gage's case opened the door to a deeper understanding of brain plasticity, but how he survived it all remains a mystery. 6. Colleen Burns, spontaneous disappearance of a tumor. Colleen Burns was placed in hospice care after being diagnosed with terminal cancer. But when doctors conducted one final scan, they were stunned to discover that her tumor had disappeared without any treatment. No one can explain how her body managed to heal itself, but Colleen's case is a reminder that sometimes the body's capacity for healing can defy medical logic. 7. Tina Turner, recovery from severe scoliosis. Tina Turner, not the singer but a young girl with the same name, was diagnosed with severe scoliosis, which threatened to leave her permanently disfigured. Her family turned to prayer, and shortly after, Tina's spine began to straighten on its own, without any surgical intervention. Was it divine intervention, or did her body unlock an unknown healing mechanism? the medical community remains stumped. 8. Noah Wall, the boy born without a cerebral cortex. Noah Wall was born missing most of his cerebral cortex, the part of the brain responsible for many vital functions, including thought, speech, and motor skills. Doctors didn't expect him to survive long, let alone develop normally. Yet Noah has defied all expectations. He can speak, interact, and live a relatively normal life. His case challenges what we believe about the brain's necessity for certain functions and raises questions about the human body's ability to adapt. 9. Anita Moroni, a miraculous recovery after a near-death experience. Anita Moroni was on the verge of death, with her organs shutting down due to cancer. She slipped into a coma, and her family prepared for the worst. But Anita awoke, recounting a near-death experience, and soon after, her body began to heal. Within weeks, there was no sign of cancer in her body. This case raises questions about the power of the mind and whether near-death experiences can trigger physical healing. So Kevin Coughlin, restoring sight. After 20 years of blindness, Kevin Coughlin had been blind for 20 years due to a genetic disorder. Then, after a mild head injury, he began to regain his sight. This wasn't supposed to happen. His blindness was permanent. Yet somehow, the trauma to his head reset his vision, leaving doctors completely puzzled. How could one simple bump to the head restore something that had been lost for decades? These 10 stories remind us that even in a world dominated by science and technology, there are still mysteries that elude explanation. The human body, while governed by biology, can sometimes operate beyond the boundaries of medical understanding. These cases force us to acknowledge that for all of our advancements, there are still moments where science has to take a back seat to the mysteries of life. What's most remarkable about these stories is that they aren't just miracles in the religious sense. They're real-life occurrences that challenge the very foundations of medical knowledge. They make us wonder, how much more is there that we don't know? How many more mysteries are waiting to be unraveled, hiding within the complex web of the human body? In the end, these miraculous healings and medical mysteries serve as a reminder that life is full of surprises, and sometimes those surprises are the best medicine of all.